So my name is Carlos Walker, and this is Forward Progress. And today we are with Christy. And Christy, say your last name.
Last show birth.
Last show, bro. So this is Forward Progress, and what we do here at Forward Progress is share what I like to call the butterfly, but the caterpillar story. So we'll go before you. Matter of fact, before I do that, share a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, my name's Christy. I live in New Orleans, which is a fun place to live. I've been here for just 2 years. It's really cool. And I am an author and a speaker, and I am a workshop facilitator specializing in personal and professional transformation. I also work with NASFA, which is the National Association of Student Financial Aid, in their prison education program.
Okay. So, you did do you was incarcerated at one point. Would you correct?
Yes.
How long did you do?
I had a 5-year sentence, so I did a little over 4 years.
Okay. So what we do, we go before prison.
Federal prison.
Okay. We go before prison. Then we talk a little bit about prison, but then we speak about what you have done since you've been home. That's the reason why it's called Forward Progress. So if you will share a little bit about your past before prison, you can start as early as you want and gravitate up until, I guess you could say, right before you got locked up, or we'll gravitate into it.
Well, I grew up in California, Southern California. I had a mom and a dad. I was always in school and got good grades, and family that went to church every Sunday and every Wednesday night. I was also, when I was born with what they called birth defects. So I was in the hospital a lot. I believe I came home after 6 months after I was born, but then it was back and forth for many years. I've had more than 40 operations. And I talk about that because that's when I learned through that time how to manage emotions with Demerol and Dilaudid, people pleasing, all those things. As a child in the hospital, there's so many emotions going around with families, your mom and your dad, and my dad's face would be the first face I'd see every morning. Like, how are you feeling? And of course it's like, I knew there was only one right answer. I'm good, Dad. I feel better. And he'd be like, oh, thank you, God. So of course, I've always felt bad. I don't want to disappoint anybody, so I just learned that, and not unbeknownst to them, they didn't know this is what I was learning, but I learned that it really didn't matter how I felt. I thought as a child, I thought I just need to make sure I feel good. And so, with a constant stream of medication, Demerol, Dilaudid, morphine all the time. And every time I went home, I was given a big bottle of Vicodin or whatever they gave me. And this progressed all the way. I would go to school and then go back in the hospital. It just was a back and forth thing for many years. But I still managed a life, and I got married to a police officer when I was 27 and traveled. And again, when I look back, I was very disconnected from myself, and I didn't realize that. I know doctors would be like, wow, you've been through so much. And I remember saying, like, not really. And they would look at me like I was crazy, but I guess I was in denial, or I didn't want sympathy or whatever. It just was my life. So I didn't really know any different. But I kept using even when I didn't need it. And I got pulled over at one point by my husband's sergeant, I felt really bad about that. I was using pills. And so I decided to go to rehab and see if it's possible that I could do life without it. And I did. And I was in a 12-step program for a long time. And I learned like what it's like to do life without anything at all times. And it was kind of crazy. But what I didn't really, I give myself lots of grace and compassion, but I didn't have a lot of tools to do emotional sobriety, which was dealing with unraveling everything. Because I didn't want to blame anybody for anything. It's nobody's fault. I was not abused or neglected in that way. But I learned that I just stayed disconnected, and I didn't have that emotional I didn't know how to deal with my emotions appropriately. And so when a whole bunch of things happened around the same time, a father dying of cancer, husband having an affair, being in the middle of an adoption, and that falling through, I went back in the hospital and for a kidney issue. And the nurse said, Chrissy, I'll get you a pain shot. And right then I was like, I do not need it. I know I'm not in pain. But my whole thought was, I want a little bit of relief. I just want some relief. No one's here. I have all this stuff going in my body and I deserve it. I felt like I deserved it. And so I said yes. And that started the process of me doing that again, and sent home with 100 Vicodin. I didn't tell anybody. I was by myself. And that started the process of me back in addiction. And I was seeing someone at the time who had relapsed on methamphetamine. And he had called me when I was in the hospital, not knowing I was in the hospital, and said, Chris, I need help. Can you come get me? I got to get out of here and I need help. And I said, yeah, I'll come get you. And I did that. And in my mind, driving to Palm Springs from Newport Beach, I thought, wow, if I try some of that, I won't get addicted to that. But I will stop the process of the opioid addiction. And because I was desperate to stop it, because I didn't want to keep doing it. It had me by the throat again immediately. And so I did that, but I got addicted to meth, and I started to sell it. In the meantime, too, I was, before that, I was working at Nordstrom selling shoes, and I became a wardrobe stylist. I had my own business for a lot of years, more than 10 years. And so for someone who had a great business, lots on the outside, home, everything. And I let all that go because I couldn't stop using. And when you're at that point, if you stop, then that means you have to leave this person. You have to deal with all those emotions. You have to deal with all the stuff that you're already avoiding anyway. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't willing to do that. So someone said, oh, you can buy a little bit more, and you could sell it to this guy in another state. And that's what we did. When Chad first learned that, when I picked him up and took him to the hotel, I didn't tell him that I was going to use any. And when he found out later, he was super angry. Like, I'd never seen him so angry. Like, this is the devil, Chris. He was crying. He's like, you are the light. Like, what are you doing? Like, you are the light. You don't understand. And I thought he was just being dramatic. I thought, I'm not going to get addicted to this. I'm a professional. He was addicted, so I don't know why I thought that I couldn't. So we sold drugs. So we sold them and got caught. We sold drugs to a priest in Connecticut, and at one time we all got arrested at the same time in all different parts of the country.
So because of, I ain't gonna just say because of your beginning, right, dealing with the ailment that you had growing up, but because you also have, I would like to say, an addictive nature. Mm-hmm. Because me, I have one. That's the reason why I go out here and sell books the same way I used to sell drugs. Yeah. I do the same thing like when I was smoking weed. I go all in. I'm willing to do it. That's the same reason why you would have been successful in business. Mm-hmm. Most people don't pay attention that their addictive nature isn't just for drugs. It's really technically supposed to be for God, but because we learn or don't learn how to deal emotionally or become emotionally aware of our emotions, what happens is we tend to start doing narcotics, start doing some type of drug to overcome what we feel because we don't want to feel. Right. So in you doing so, you end up stopping for a while. I end up what? Stopping. Oh. Yeah, you quit doing drugs for a while. Yeah. And because of another surgery, chose to start back. Yeah, and it wasn't even a surgery. It was just I had to
it was just something that was going on with my kidneys that it was just, I wasn't even in the surgery. I was just there for a couple days for them to
And,
fix something. But yeah, so I
and
didn't,
you wanted to get away from the emotions again.
yes, I
Yes,
wanted relief.
from the emotions.
Yeah, from everything that was going on. And I didn't know how to say, this is hard and this sucks. And I'm angry and I'm sad. I didn't know how to say.
Or for most people who watch this, a lot of people go through emotions,
Yeah.
and they are actually meant for us to delve into and go through, but know that you're overcoming. As soon as you go through a tunnel, you got to realize you're also coming out of it.
Yeah.
But because of the lack of people sharing with us how to get past emotion
Yeah.
or how to work with them, you chose the opposite route.
Yeah. And I was uncomfortable with those emotions and I thought those were not appropriate. I need to be, I need to be nice. I need to be kind. I need to, I can't lose it. I can't yell or scream. I just don't. I don't know how to do that. And as you said, when people around you don't share what they're going through, you think it's just you. I thought it was just me. That's why today I tell my friends, if I have a secret, if I have one secret, then I'm in trouble. Period. I tell them everything. I have great friends that I met when I got out, and I can tell them anything without being judged because now I know everyone goes through stuff. So if I think, wow, I can't tell them that. Why not? They're human. You're human. I'm like, oh yeah, I can. I guess I can. I never knew that. I never got that message.
And they're going through something too. So your secret might mess around and help them come out of theirs, while theirs might help you come out of yours.
Absolutely.
So you started selling, messed around, and y'all got got arrested.
Yeah.
So now I'm assuming you're about to get charged. Well, you done got charged, and you're about to go through the system.
Mhm.
Share with me how much time did they originally give you? I think it's 5 years.
5 years. Yeah.
All right. So you get 5 years. What is running through your mind at the time?
Well, I had been in already almost 2 years. Was I in two? Yeah, I was in almost 2 years already. And my attorney kept saying brace for 7. And I had never been in trouble. I got sentenced on my birthday. I
Mm.
thought, well, maybe the judge will be nice. You know, he knows I've never done anything. My family is there. I've already done almost 2 years with no incidences, but he didn't. So I was shaking in court. You know, for a long time, I was so surprised that I was there, and I couldn't really make sense of the fact that I thought that I was a good person and a nice person and smart and hardworking. So why would I do that? And why am I here? And that's kind of why I started to write. But it was terrible. It was terrible. The guys that were in the van with me when I got sentenced on the way home, I loved them because they were so all the way there in the van and all the way back. They were so. I have a love for. That's why I think I have a love for the men that have gone through the system because they gave me so much wisdom and strength that I would have never had.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I always ask that question because I like to know. I like for people to understand the psychological part
Yeah.
of when a person gets incarcerated and they receive the time. Because some people I've heard people say, they was in like a stony position.
Yeah.
It didn't calculate at the time. I've had some people break down and cry because they understand that they may have just been given a long sentence. Some just go through different. There's a different wave of emotions that go through with this. So you're in
Yeah.
prison and you've been in for a while. You just had an emotional disarray that just happened in your life. The
Mm-hmm.
the judge was not so what's the word I want to use? So understanding, yeah, lenient
Yeah.
on a birthday.
Yeah.
And what was the next couple years like? Because you said you was in federal prison.
Yeah.
Thank God for the people who had the men that was on the ride back that inspired you or gave you some inspiration? But what was the next few years like?
Well, when I got back in the van, the officers played that Akon song, I Got Locked Up and They Won't Let Me Out. They were playing that so loud, and like I was so angry at them. The judge said that I would be going to a camp in California. It's funny because I don't remember how the motion was for me so much, but I do remember what he said. He said, you'll be going to a camp in California. You'll do RDAP, which is the drug program. You'll probably do 3 years max. You won't be behind the wall. Your family can come see you anytime. Like, he was telling me this is what was going to happen. And none of that happened. So I always want people to know that the judge can recommend. Mm-hmm. I don't know about state. The judge can recommend, and the Bureau of Prisons does whatever they want. So I'm in Oklahoma thinking I'm going to California. My mom's making her way there, and they leave. The California bus or plane leaves, and so they said, you're going to Texas, which is a maximum security prison. And because I had health issues as a child, I didn't have any health issues that required me to go into the hospital or need medical treatment like that, but they sent me to Carswell. So that which was behind the walls, not even at the camp, because they have a camp there. So I was more in shock at that. And, I worked in landscaping. I did the drug program there, although I kept hearing that that I shouldn't do it there because no one graduates. Everyone's saying, Christy, no one graduates. I'm like, well, it's not like I can choose and go somewhere else. I experienced stress sickness when I was trying to go somewhere else. I was trying to say I got to get up to California or something so I can graduate. But I couldn't. And there were 32 people and there were 2 of us left. Everyone else had quit or got kicked out. And I wasn't going to quit because I wanted to get the year off. And soon, right before I was supposed to go home, they kicked me out. And they said that I was inauthentic and that on the paper it said no clinical progress. And that was probably even more devastating than the sentencing, because I thought I was going home. And these people were so cruel. And the lady calls me back in her office and she says, Christy, and I thought maybe she was going to say, we'll give you another chance or something. But she said, knowing I couldn't have kids, she said, thank God you couldn't have children. She said, I bet you would have been a terrible mother. Mm. She said, I bet you're a terrible sister and a terrible daughter. Now get out of my office. And at that point, I thought, it's probably better if I'm not on this planet, because I internalized all of it. Like, no woman is, I have good people in my life, that protect me, for lack of a better word. And when she said that, I thought, who I am, who I think I am, and where I am, and what she's saying is not matching up at all. So there must be something deeply wrong with me. That's all I thought. And luckily, my landscape boss gave me a little bit of hope. That's when I kind of decided to start to write. Like, what the hell? What's going on? Me and God got really, really, really close. I would run around the track, listening to gospel, crying. And then I started laughing. I'm like, who runs around the track listening to gospel, crying? Like, it's not crying. Like, God, like, what are you doing? Like, it must be something. It must be something magical, because this is so painful. So painful. I was so angry. That's been 8 years since that happened. Maybe in the last year is probably the first time I don't hate them. And I never use the word hate, but I hated them. Not because of the way just they treated me, how they treated so many of the women that didn't have the fight that I have. Like, you are not going to break me. Other women that, I wonder where they are now. Think about them. after they treated them so poorly. And I want people to know, because that's what goes on in prison. We're not even talking about, you know, kindness, or even to try to do work or college. I mean, it's horrific. Sometimes you get some cool people. The chaplain, my boss, was a nice man, but the majority of it is very traumatic. And so, but I know that God used that for me to fight. I know that now. And people say, would you go through that again, knowing how free you are now? Like I always say, I am so free on every single level that I almost can't believe the gift that I have to just be 100% Christy. And then when I'm 100% Christy, I get to just love everybody. I can just love Carlos 100%. When people are doing stuff, it's like, and you're the same way, I can tell, because it's like, I don't even need to know exactly what you're doing, but whatever you're doing, you need help, let's do it. Let's get there, And so I think that stemmed from that horrificness. And but if I would have to do it again to be as free, I don't think I would.
Is it you?
I don't think I would. It was bad.
I thought you were going to say, yeah.
No. I would hope that I could get free a different way. But no,
Look,
I know.
You ever watched The Butterfly Effect?
I have, yeah.
Every time you change something, something else changed. Because you was there and certain people got to see you, you would not be able to meet and change the lives that you've changed.
Yeah. I would not know you.
You wouldn't know a lot of people.
I wouldn't know Malik. That way I wouldn't know you. Mm-hmm.
These are people that you came into their lives for a reason.
Yeah.
And inspired and pushed on. There's probably women that was in prison. Y'all still got a connection.
Yeah.
That and a bond that if you hadn't have been there, nobody else would have.
Right.
And the same thing for you. So, I mean, I understand where you're coming from. Trust me, like I did 13 years.
Maybe a few more years, I'll say yes, but not now.
What I realized, for me personally,
yeah,
I wouldn't change nothing. If I could go back and God said you got two different paths, you can go there in this one. And it'd be totally, you'll still end up where you're going. I wouldn't take that. I would go all the way back through it. And
that's beautiful.
But the reason, because I didn't smoke weed or drink or do anything while I was in there, I took the pain because I wanted to. Yeah, I wanted to know what everything felt like. And what I realized is it wasn't the worst. Yes, it was the worst and the best time that I've ever had. And the best time came because of the people.
Yes.
Not because of the overall situation itself, because my body couldn't go nowhere. It was my growth. I heard you say you started writing there. Is that where your book started?
Yeah.
Did you finish it while you was there?
No.
Okay, so you finished it here, but the beginning stages of this all started because it ain't a parable, it's something I learned. So a piece of, you know how a pearl is created?
And the oyster, the sand.
Piece of sand gets caught up in a oyster or clam's mouth, and it's nothing but the spit. It salivates around it because the piece of sand is irritating. So what we're looking at, that's the beautiful pearl, is nothing but the spit that's around the piece of sand. But when it's discovered, we see the most beautiful thing.
Yeah.
At least one of them that we see, and that is what you became.
Yeah.
A piece of sand got caught in a dark situation. And the molding of you, all of that stuff that people told you, that is what made you become the pearl that you are today. And that was their spit. They was basically just spitting on us.
They were.
The inhumane treatment that you said, man, I ain't no way I would go back through that again to become this. But what the world gets to see now and know is the pearl.
Yeah.
This could not happen without pressure, because that's how diamonds are created.
Right.
Everything that I've ever seen that came out beautiful, caterpillars have to go into darkness in order to become the beautiful thing that we see. We are no different. We have to go through in order to change, but not only change for us, but change for everybody that gets to meet us,
Yeah.
and they get to be like, hold up, how did you become this? Or why are you here?
Yeah.
Because there's this saying that says, God don't call the qualified, he qualifies the called.
Mm.
And because you were called to be qualified, because most people wonder, why are you in the positions you're in?
Yeah.
Why are you in the places, in the rooms? Especially, hey, being a white woman who have been through the system.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing for them to see you.
Mm-hmm.
And but for you to be there, it's because you was chosen.
Yeah. You're right about that. I know that the interesting thing, and I said, and I never really talk about this. My first like spiritual experience I ever had, I didn't know that's what it was at the time. I had been using, I think it was probably 5 days before I went to prison, and I had woken up and I was just disgusted with myself, with the situation. I'm like, my mom, tried so hard to keep me alive, and what am I doing to myself? And I heard, which I know for me was God saying, I'm going to take away all your responsibilities and make you a teacher. And I thought, how are you going to do that? I'm trying to pay a mortgage and do all this stuff. And then I went to prison. A few days later, I took away all my responsibilities. Everything went away. And so now I'm a teacher. Isn't that crazy? It's so beautiful.
This is
Yeah.
how life happens.
Yeah.
You have to go through something to become something. So
Yeah.
share a little bit about the things that you did do even in prison, how you may have inspired other women, the things that may have happened to get you to here while you were there.
Well, my mom was someone who sent me something just about every day in the mail. She made envelopes out of beautiful paper so that I can use that paper to make cards. So I was someone who made greeting cards inside, and I would sell them for $2.50, which was like, get. I usually bought peanut butter and O'Keefe coffee, and what else did I get? All that stuff. So, but I worked out every day too. I learned for the first time that a routine was a good thing. I was always like fighting routine. I want to be free. I don't want a routine, but it ended up being really, that's the adventure part of me. But, I love a routine, and that started in there. I would get up at 6:00. I would go get some breakfast, if you called that breakfast. Go, and I put on my work boots. I'd go to work, and then after work, I would come home, and I would take a nap right after count, and then I would get up, go right to the gym while everyone was eating dinner, because I thought, well, I want to at least be in good shape when I get out of here. Mm-hmm. A lot of people got a lot of commissary. I didn't really, just because I'm like, oh, heck no, I don't want to be big when I get out of here. And so, and I want to eat what I want when I get out. And so I went to the track or the gym while everyone was at dinner. And then I would come back, I'd take a shower, and I always would have a caramel rice cake with a little bit of peanut butter so I could save it. And then I would try and save or exchange something to get a half a banana. That's what I would have. So that was kind of my thing. And so, and I eventually got out, and I moved to Oregon. The guy that I went to prison with, he went through RDEP and graduated, but then he got out before I did. I thought I was going back to California, but he started to use again. So I knew I couldn't go back there. So I went to Oregon, where my mom and my sister were. And I was kind of sad about that because I wanted to go home, and Oregon was not California. I'm like, I can't believe I'm going to try to go to school on Redwood Highway. That's just like, sounds so rural. That is not what I want. And it was the best thing for me. There was no distractions. I ran a lot. I hiked, a river raft, and I worked at a hotel. I got a job at a hotel. The halfway house, tries to get you to get a job. And I said, just give me 2 weeks to find a job that I like, because I knew me. If I was working at something I didn't like, it's hard. You already are trying to battle shame and starting over. Let me at least do something that I think that I would like. So I got a job at a hotel, and I worked there the whole time I lived in Oregon. Went back to college. I was in a reentry court, which was amazing. The judge is she calls me her dear friend, which is so beautiful. She's like, why aren't you in college, Christy? And so I said, I think I'm too old. And so she told me all the reasons I'm not too old. And so during that time, it was a year in the reentry court, and you go one Friday a month. And so I would be in school, and they'd say, okay, what do you need? And I'm like, man, I'm having a hard time on this criminology paper. Like, I'm getting all A's. I want to keep getting all A's. So, and one of the ladies was a district attorney, and she raised her hand. She goes, hey, Christy, my kids are gone this weekend. My husband's in charge of the criminology department, so we'll edit your paper for you. I was like, what? Like, I was getting help from everywhere because I was working hard and I asked for it. I was like, the DA is going to help do my paper. I mean, what a gift. And God kept giving me that message. When I got out, I wasn't going to share where I was. I'm like, I'm in Oregon. They'll know my sister. Maybe a few people will know, but I'm going to just pretend nothing ever happened and go forward. And that's not what my purpose was. Each time I told just a tiny bit of something with shame and guilt and grossness, the response was so loving and beautiful. I was like, wow. I kept going, wow, that's so amazing. So I learned the reciprocation of that. And then they would tell me their stuff. And then I got to be a safe place for so many people. And like I said, the judge, now, anytime she goes to speak, they ask her, they'll say, oh yeah, I'll speak if Christy can speak too. So here's this authority, wanting all of us that were in the reentry court to do well. And she calls me on the phone all the time. Hey, I need your advice. I'm like, the judge is asking me advice. That's crazy. But it's back and forth, because we went through something doesn't mean we don't have so much to offer. In fact, most of the people I love the most are those that have been incarcerated or those that have had hardships. Like, they're my people, because I know what it took to get them to where they are now. And I love that. I love that part. And like you said, the hustle. So it's like the same coin. We're the same people. When it's for not so good and you're not connected and not in your purpose, we can go hard down. But when we are with the same stuff that took us there is like, go high. And so I used to not like certain aspects of myself because I thought that would get me in trouble. But now those aspects is what's catapulting me to bravery, to do brave things. So I love that part.
So before we go, I think my battery getting low for some strange reason. Tell me all the great things that you do now.
Well, I wrote 2 books. I have this one called Perfectly Flawed. This is my first book. Okay. And it is it's 33 short chapters. Me of kind of figuring out why I'm where I am. And then I ask the reader questions after every chapter with room to write, because I want people to start to write, to really self-reflect and love who they are. And then I just did this other book. This just got published last month, I think. And it's a journal. Thank you. It's a journal. So it's a daily journal. In fact, you can see I write in it too. And so I just ask questions to really encourage women to love themselves and see all the parts that they don't like or the perceived flawed are really what's going to catapult them to greatness and their purpose once they embrace it. And so I do workshops on unraveling tangled self-worth. I do stuff with women in prison, but I know where my forte, I think, is, and especially like you said, as a white woman who'd gone through this system, that's why I feel like it's my job, or it's I'm required to tell people what's really going on, because I know there's tons of people that I know that are great, amazing people and had a different viewpoint of the prison system like I did. So I and they believe me when I'm telling them. They a lot of time can't believe what goes on. So I feel like it's my duty to share and to help, whoever I can. And so, yeah, I'm in New Orleans living my best life. It is fun in the city. You got to come.
I will be there.
Yeah.
I don't know how, I don't know when, but it will be soon.
I love
Also, before you leave, share a word of wisdom for anybody who may need something, whether it be somebody coming out of prison, somebody in prison, somebody who just out here in the world, never been to prison. Give a word of wisdom for them.
My best advice is to say that you are already fully equipped for everything that is in your heart. Any stirring, you may not know how to get there or what it means, but follow that path and don't hide anything. Look at your life where you have secrets. That is holding you back, period. That is giving you a life that may have some rub or pain in it. When you are open with it, not telling everyone everything, but as long as you look at it and go, wow, I'm not that happy that I do that. Okay, well, let's adjust it a little bit. Don't hate it. Just, embrace it and know that every single person on the planet is going through stuff and you have no idea. In a room full of people all dressed up and looking pretty and handsome, there is so much pain and shit going on in their life, and you don't know that. So know that you're fully equipped to do everything that's in your heart to do, and to take a risk. You have to take a risk. And if you fail, you fail, and you'll get back up and do something else.
Your pain is where your power is at.
Yeah.
Christy, I thank you for being who you are. Continue to be the great light that you are, as he said.
Yeah.
And remember, everything happens for a reason. You couldn't be you without any of the things that you went through. As you just told everybody else, embrace it. Never regret it. If you
I'll get there.
Walk back to it, I promise you, knowing the things that you are able to do now.
Yeah.
And the people that are helped because of it.
Yeah.
Anytime, I guarantee you'll tell me, look.
Great.
I wouldn't change nothing.
Love you very much.
I will send this to you shortly. Look, I love you. My name is Carlos Walker, and this is Christy.
Yeah.
And
Lashover. Yeah.
this is Forward Progress. Thank y'all.